Hello people, this is Ryder here to review the Kamen Rider Drive DX Shift Tridoron. So this is our final form item for Kamen Rider Drive, the shift car for Shift Tridoron itself. Obviously, because of the nature of this one, I had to get this used. So I don't have the box. Obviously the box will be photoshopped and such. But anyways, here we have Shift Tridoron. And as you can see from here, this one's definitely a lot beefier compared to all the other Shift cars, as again, this one kind of started a lineage of final form items that kind of is tiring. But I mean, from this, obviously at this point, it wasn't, again, this was the starting point and such. But like, honestly, looking at it here, it's definitely interesting for sure to see Tridoron as a shift car. It's just kind of jarring because it's just really weird seeing Tridoron really squished, because we're so used to seeing Tridoron being wide. So this is just definitely interesting and such. And as you can see here from all the stuff, this is the first shift car to make its own sounds. So here is the track and the number 025, speaker right here, obviously the battery compartment like so. This is the pull tab I stole from the Neo Amazons, or the Neo Alpha thing. And then we have a D right here. This is our transmission button. And then here we have our tire Kakimazeru button. As you can see, 3 circles right there. And what I've been trying to avoid to show, the mirror. As you can see, there is an entire mirror system here, just like Formula and such. But this one is like an actual mirror, so like, so far, like from here, you can see my hand and such. How's the reflection? Can you see this from here? It's not really. Oh wow, the focus on that is pretty interesting. But anyways, yeah, so that's definitely interesting for sure. Anyways, we'll get through the sounds right away. So this one's actually fairly basic and oh yeah, it already, the D stands for drive. But like, when you press the button, this lower button right here, we get that announcement, and it just stays glowing red. As you can see from here, we have a row of 7 shift cars. So Dimension Cab, Justice Hunter, Midnight Shadow, Max Flare, Funky Spike, is that Rumble Dump, and Mad Doctor? Yeah. Oh no, I think that's Fire Braver. That's fire or engine. Let me look. Yeah, I think that's Fire Braver actually. But this is all you get, and like, it makes a nice mirrored image because it's supposed to make like an infinite row of shift cars coming through. It's pretty cool. And this is all you get until you get that phrase from Krim and such. And then the big gimmick of this one is that when you press the button with the 3 tires, you get a pairing of 3 shift cars together. So that one was Flare Spike Shadow, Hunter Dr. Braver. Really like how they're correlating 2 colors per shift car. And I think this is the last one. The Pit Crew. And just like this button, if you press it repeatedly, you do get an additional phrase. So yeah, those are just the 2 additional phrases you get from Krim and such. Like what I said in the Q Unlock, at that point, it's not until the Mugen Ghost icon where things really hit it off, because like here, like for example, it doesn't have phrases from Shinosuke and such. It just has those two phrases from Krim. So yeah, let's use this with our drive stuff. Well, okay, before I get to that, I keep forgetting to show that obviously it's a shift car, so it rolls around. And where is it? Here's a comparison with a normal shift car. So here's shift speed. As you can tell, it's not that drastically big. It's basically just like an inch or bigger just because of the speaker. But it's just really interesting to see these two shift cars next to each other. So this one we're going to have to go back into how we filmed drive stuff in like 2018 or so by this format, because we actually do need to show the shift brace because of the nature of this shift car. But obviously, just transform like usual. Start off the driver, and then activate the shift car, and then transform like so. So here we have the transformation of Kamen Rider Drive Type Tridoron, to which, obviously, all the sounds are in the shift car itself. However, as you can tell, the drive driver kind of overpowers the sounds of the shift car itself, but luckily it's not doing much, it's just doing like car sounds and such. And I really do like how the drive R is now inverted. Like, I think that's actually pretty neat. Obviously, we have our standard attacks. We have the sleek standby. Yeah, this actually doesn't correlate because that sound is actually specifically for the full throttle. So I won't be showing those attacks and such. Obviously, the big gimmick, obviously the big thing with, as I showed before, with Shift Tridoron is that you can do the tire Kakimazeru, or what they want to romanize as Kakimazero, which allows Drive to take 3 shift cars and combine them into one new tire and such. So obviously we need to start the drive driver, and then again press this button like so. And then simply thrust or shift. So as you can see from there, Flare Spike Shadow became attack 1, 2, 3 and such. To which then, it's kind of the same process. You only have the full throttle attack. Which unfortunately, like, that's kind of the issue, because like my shift brace is kind of like dying. So sometimes like the syncing is like really off and such. So like it's just unfortunate when it does come out of sync and such. But other than that, I'm not going to do the finishers. We're just going to do the transformations. Obviously, this is just going to keep revving its thing. So I've been forgetting to talk. So like People Saver and obviously Koji Genbar are like the other two main tires that are present within the show. Obviously Koji Genbar is, I think it's just construction site, and then obviously the third one that isn't present at all, American Dream, and then these next three are just ones that don't exist. Which is unfortunate that like half of these aren't even present. Like, luckily we can assume what some of these are going to be, because some of them actually do have weapons and such. But then again, some of these shift cars don't even have tires. I honestly would have liked this one, especially because it's the pit crew. I'm surprised they didn't do them. But yeah, that's basically the gist of this within the Drive driver, so. Alright. Brake Gunner is, I think, dying now, which is kind of weird. But obviously it uses the advanced system. But I don't know, like in the demo and when I was playing around with it, sometimes it just wouldn't respond. The mock driver is actually an interesting case, because when you actually do use it, so it recognizes it as a shift car, but you can't actually close it in. But that doesn't mean there's no sound, so here's the snippet from the demo. Obviously, I should probably elaborate on the mock driver. Obviously, the mock driver only just... It still at least recognizes that it's a track that's meant to make its own sounds. This one, we will just show, because obviously we're supposed to show what the actual true nature of these shift cars are. Because now you can actually portray this as you activate Tridoron. Now, as you can see from here, this mirror system was made specifically for, alright, Tridoron worked itself around the mirror system within Formula. So then it actually still looks like it's actually like in the right orientation. And obviously, speed, while, and technique are programmed to work specifically for Tridoron, because they're programmed so that they only need to hit the button once. Because Tridoron is not that lucky. I still like that sound. And yeah, So just let this go through. And yeah. So overall, my thoughts on Shift Tridoron is that while like comparing it to like, if we have to comparing it to Kiwami, it basically is the same concept of like, well, somewhat just like bringing together all like what's been building up in the entire toy line and like putting them together and such. But like, this one's obviously like a bit more basic in a way, but like doesn't necessarily mean it's bad just because like, well, first of all, this one was expensive. But just because of the nature of the fact that this is technically the first shift car that actually does make its own sounds, which is, again, in the toy line like Drive, a huge merit. And again, like, what it does in the Drive driver is pretty basic for the most part. I still find it really intriguing just how they managed to get this to work. Because I feel like shift cars are still probably the most interesting gimmick to add sounds into, because of the fact, like, with later toy lines, like, they've found, like, with, like, toy lines that typically have devices that, like, have a reader, they typically find a way of, like, okay, we need to clearly designate a spot for an item that's going to make its own sounds for. But, like, I feel like, Drive probably did the same thing, too. But, like, Drive, I can talk about Ghost, because we already covered it. I feel like Drive and Ghost were, like, interesting times, because that's when they were, like, again, settling in on doing that stuff. And then if you see Ghost, obviously, Ghost was very inconsistent about it. Ghost could not get it down on just how exactly to do it right. But, like, I don't know, like, the shift car, this is still just a really fascinating item, because it's just like, just how they managed to actually do this is like really incredible overall. And like, obviously, like, I don't mind the fact that it's not as extravagant. Like, it still does have significant things about it, but it's not like end all be all kind of thing. It's a nice, I think the huge selling point of this one itself is the fact it makes sounds. So I don't really mind necessarily of like how much it can do. It's really cool that like there are like 7 Kakimazeru combinations and such. Like, I think that's pretty good enough. 7 is definitely an odd number, but I don't mind it personally. And plus the sounds are pretty cool. And one thing I did not showcase, you can technically replicate what is called overdrive, I think, if I remember from Storm Heroes. Because Storm Heroes actually made it a thing. Basically, you don't know, in the penultimate episode of Drive, after when Medic died, Shinosuke activated all, like, basically pressed the Kakimazeru button 7 times, shifted up 3 times, and then pressed the drive button to do the fire all engine sound, and then did a full throttle. That's technically called overdrive. You can somewhat replicate that. Like, obviously, just press the Kakimazeru button 7 times, shift it up 3 times, and then just press like the drive button. Obviously, doing the full throttle is kind of going to be difficult, because it's just going to do the transformation. So definitely, I hope that's a thing they, I guess, implement in a future CSM release. But like, it's still cool you can at least do half of it, because I don't think I showed it, but like the Kakimazeru sound does actually count, does actually like go on rhythm to how you shift it, which is pretty neat. It's not necessary, but it's there at least. But like, other than that, like, there's not really much else that I would have wanted out of this, because I think it does what it needs to do. The only challenging part about this thing is that it's incredibly difficult to get your hands on, because of the fact It's a quarter 3 item, it's a final form, and it makes its own sounds. So I guess people were clamoring to get their hands on it. I think I ended up getting mine used for, I think, $35, so I did get mine for its retail price, just without the box. And that's what I kind of recommend for you to do, too. I think, I get why this thing's probably $35, just because of the fact you have to factor in the entire LED the LED layout and the mirror system and such. So you have to accommodate for that and such. Even though it's not like that big of an item, I think it's pretty reasonable, because I guess the cheapest probably $30. And also, I forgot to do this. You can, I don't know, it's just like you can now do this. You can display all 3 vehicles together, which is pretty neat. Obviously, it's out of proportion because the signal bikes are bigger than Shift Tridoron, but oh well. Obviously, I would like to actually get the other drive stuff someday. But yeah, obviously, this is not. I mean, this was not the last drive item. Obviously, the last drive item was Shift Next Special, but I already covered that. And I don't know, it's kind of weird. I guess it took me, 8 years to get through, no, 7 years to get through the entirety of the Drive toy line, or at least the retail side at least. Because obviously, just like Gaim, we haven't covered the premium stuff, or the majority of those, nor the Visa Nexes. I think those are actually going to be, I think the Visa Nex stuff are actually easier now, but premium stuff, I would only get the looping gunner. I don't want to pick up the gold driver. And like overall, I think the Drive toy line was neat for sure, for just how robust it was. They didn't release as much shift cars as you would have wanted, because there's a lot of unreleased sounds. But I think what makes the Drive toy line the strongest is that they made every, like there are so much toys you can actually use the shift cars in, that it's actually amazing. Like, the fact that we have 4 core toys that we can use the shift cars in is pretty fascinating. Yes, this thing doesn't properly work in the mock driver, but oh well. Like, it's just, it's just unfortunate when you look at lines like Build, because, like, we all thought Build was going to be another Drive toy line, but then they, like, fumbled that very badly. So I'm very grateful what we have with Drive and such. And while I might have covered the series way out of order, I'm just glad we were at this point where I can actually properly cover the final form item and such. I know this is at the tail end of Gaim too, but it's just like, we needed to fill out days and such. So, yeah, another technically Ryder toy line done. This one took longer. I think this video was too long. This is Ryder and LV people. That what they do with this review. Bye.